AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening. You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is great to be back. I have been chomping at the bit to get back in here. And let me start off by welcome to the show. This is On Point with Victor. I am Victor Armendariz. And this is America's Web Radio. I missed last week, and I've just been chomping at the bit ever since to get back in. And if some of you are wondering, as I have gotten some questions on what was I doing last week, well, I actually had to go to Mexico. It's been a great time down there. And actually, I want to just give a quick shout out to the Hard Rock Cancun Resort, the Hard Rock Resort in Cancun. That place is amazing. The staff is amazing. Everything about it is absolutely amazing. If you're looking to take a trip next year and you want to go kick back and relax on an all-inclusive resort or at an all-inclusive resort and you want to enjoy a beautiful, beautiful beach, go to Cancun and stay at the Hard Rock because the Hard Rock Resort in Cancun. I can't speak highly of it enough. They were wonderful. The staff was amazing. They go out of their way to really make it an enjoyable trip. And
now, when I was in high school, Cancun was known for something besides that.
I'm almost afraid to ask what.
And then you got a shot when you got back.
Yeah, right. That probably was the case. But it is very Americanized now, in a way, I guess I should say. They're very welcoming to Americans and even welcoming to Trump supporters. It's quite interesting. In fact, David, and folks, those of you listening, I sometimes refer to David as the producer Dave or owner Dave. Or the legend Dave, but he is the station owner. And Dave, I tell you, some of the people, the staff at the Hard Rock, when they saw my name, they really, really rolled out the red carpet. And I was convinced that somehow, some way, somebody must have tuned into America's Web Radio and actually be familiar with us maybe. But I did speak a little bit about it, and it was interesting to see because there are people there that wait tables, they clean the floors, all the workers there that work from, we're talking 10, 12, 13-hour days. And they had it's neat because that is the working class of Mexico. That's that what we call the laborers of Mexico. And to hear their perspective sometimes on the U.S., because they're inundated with, because I tuned into, all you can get there is CNN. You can get CNN English, CNN Spanish, and that's it. And then you get some of the local, of course, Mexican news stations. And it's pretty frustrating because they're being spoon-fed exactly what our fake news is spoon-feeding here, the Americans. And but it's neat to hear because some of those guys, they actually get beyond what they're being told and they see it's the same thing that I talk about here is we're seeing a good economy. Well, when the economy in the United States goes up, the economy in Mexico goes up. And these people see it. So Trump is not a hated figure like the media will try and tell you that he is. So it was really neat to see. And I ran into a lot of people that were from all over the country. And I have to say the majority of them were Trump supporters. So it was really neat, and it was a positive thing, and I enjoyed getting to meet some of these the locals and some of the out-of-towners. But anyway, that's all I'll say about that. Just don't want to give the Hard Rock too much until they start paying for sponsorship. But it was a great place, and I do recommend it. So let me get into some things. I actually, to be honest, I would really love, I wanted to come in here and not talk about the so-called, air quotes, impeachment hearings. Or also you could refer them to as my feelings are hurt hearings. Because when you get down to it, you've got a lot of deep state, administrative state Washington swamp, whatever you want to call them. These are career bureaucrats who have had their feelings hurt, and now they're rushing to the floor of the House to give their witness, and I'm using that air quotes again, folks, witness testimony on this so-called impeachment hearings. And so I really, really would love to talk about something else, but because of some requests and some emails I've gotten, I'm going to bring a common sense and logical analysis that you're probably only going to get, well, at least this kind, maybe, from On Point with Victor, with my show. So if you can take off your D hat, if you can take off your R hat, and be a little objective, I just listen to what I have to say today, because once I say it, and at any time, again, I would beg anyone to email me, contact the show any way you want, and refute my argument. I don't care where you went to school. I don't care how many PhDs you have. I don't care your academic pedigree is what I'm trying to say. Because if you can't knock out my argument with logic, coherent, and a good factual basis, then your pedigree doesn't matter. Because I beg you to, well, I'll sit here and say that you're not going to be able to come back at my argument and beat it with logic or with facts. So I'm going to get into that. But what I want to do here real quick, before I get into this, what's going on in these sham hearings, I want to break this down. Basically, just the easiest common sense and logic that I can use in basically one or two paragraphs, and just blow up this whole impeachment hearing fiasco. So pull in, turn up your radios, turn up your streaming devices, whatever you're using, and just listen to this real quick. Again, you try and be objective here. Take off your D hat, take off your R hat, and listen to these factual points I'm about to make to you in the most common sense and logical way in this one or two or three paragraphs, and which will absolutely blow up this whole fiasco of an impeachment hearings that we're having to sit through right now. So first of all right, I'm going to, again, just to blow up the whole narrative right now. So pull in and listen to this. So there is one U.S. president. There has been a United States president who did withhold aid from the Ukraine. So now let's get this straight. Let's just back up a little bit and remember, these impeachment hearings are supposedly because a couple of people heard the phone call and leaked it out to a CIA guy who's a Biden guy who ran to Schiff's office, Schiff head Adam, and told him, hey, there's some quid pro quo going on. The aid was being withheld from the Ukraine, and in exchange for that aid, the request for investigations and all these terms were being set. So this is what we are supposed to believe. But then Donald Trump, President Trump, in his just the only way that this guy can do it, reacted on a very logical and common sense basis and said, well, you know what? I'll just release the transcript. Because the one thing that the coup in Washington did not plan on was for President Trump to release the transcript. So, all right, so here now, let's go back to my blowing up the narrative here. So remember, this whole thing they're trying to tell you is that Trump withheld aid and blah, blah, blah. Well, let's look at the facts. There is one United States president who really did withhold aid from Ukraine. In fact, this aid was withheld for 8 years. 8 years, folks. Aid was withheld from the Ukraine. That president was President Obama. So think about that. Think about that for a moment. The only president who withheld aid to the Ukrainian government for 8 years, President Obama. Again, folks, just the facts. Just the facts. I'm not telling you if President Obama was a Democrat or Republican. That doesn't matter right now. What matters, and believe me, folks, you may be laughing, but there are people out there who I could go on the street to a college campus and say, did you like Republican Obama? Did you like President Obama as a Republican? Did you think he was a good president? And they would look at you and tell you he was the best, he was great. Even though I could predicate everything I said about Obama and call him a Republican, they would just flow with it because they wouldn't know. So I joke about it, but there are people out there. But anyway, all right, I'm getting sidetracked. So let me go back to this. So the one president, the one United States president that withheld aid from the Ukraine for 8 years, President Obama. All right, so fact number 2, there is a top United States official who engaged in a quid pro quo with the Ukrainian president. There is a top official of the United States who did look at the Ukrainian envoy, including the president of the Ukraine at the time, and he said, you have 6 hours to fire your attorney general. If you don't, you will not see the 6 or however many billions of dollars in aid that you have been promised. In fact, the president of the Ukraine looked at this official from the United States and said, but you're not the president. That money's been promised to us. And this top official looked at the Ukrainian president and said, oh, really? Just try me. Why don't you call the president? You either fire the attorney general of the Ukraine or you kiss the billions of dollars in aid goodbye. This was all done. There are witnesses to it. In fact, the top U.S. official who did the quid pro quo, who said those things I just told you, he said, is on video, and you can look it up on YouTube if they haven't taken it down yet, but you could search this. You could Google it or go to DuckDuckGo and do a search. You will find one of the top officials of the United States who actually admitted and bragged about giving an alternative quid pro quo to the then president of Ukraine. What he said was, if you want this billions of dollars of aid, you will fire your current attorney general. Folks, that was Vice President Joe Biden. Just the facts here, folks. Just the facts. Doesn't matter if you're a D, doesn't matter if you're an R, doesn't matter. The facts are the only person on record and on video admitting to a quid pro quo, Joe Biden. Now, don't blame me if you're not seeing this on CNN and MSNBC and all that. Blame yourself if that's the only place you're getting your news from. But again, any of you out there who doubt me or want to say that I'm engaging in conspiracy, go ahead, contact the show. Call me. Send me a message. Email me, victor@americaswebradio.com. I'll put you on the show because you cannot refute the facts that I am giving. All right, folks, I've got another fact to give, but you know what? We're going to take a break real quick. Let's get this break out of the way and we'll come back. You're listening to On Point with Victor, America's Web Radio.
Perhaps you are struggling to cope with the disease of addiction. If not, you probably know a family member or friend that needs help in battling the cravings and the personal and professional damage done by the effects of drugs or alcohol. Get a pen and paper and be ready to write down the following. These are the issues that the trained staff at the Atlanta Healing Center address and treat every day. Their doctors and counselors with over 40 years of practice in the field of addiction can treat the suffering individual in a thoughtful, compassionate, and experienced manner and guide him or her along the path to recovery. So call 770-696-9862 and speak to a knowledgeable staff member about how you or your loved one can be helped to enjoy a better and healthier life. More information is also available on the website at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
This is Ron Camacho, host of the Business Hour, on Fridays from 10 to 11 a.m. Join me as I talk with passionate professionals on a program that profiles the best businesses, business professionals, business practices, and fascinating individuals to get an insider view of how America works. 10 to 11 a.m. on America's Web Radio.
Get your pen and paper ready. If there's a move in your near future, I'm here to tell you that the folks I used and now recommend is Around Town Movers. Timothy and the guys recently moved me, and I am and was totally satisfied with a sometimes not so fun experience moving. Call Timothy at 770-378-4708 and make it a good move and a good experience. Around Town Movers for that local or cross-country move. Timothy, Around Town Movers, in my opinion, are the best. That's Around Town Movers. Call them.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
It's okay, and we're back. If you're wondering why there was a pause there, I was waiting for my music. But, this is live radio. Things happen on live radio. So, all right, let me jump back right into this. So, those are the two big facts that I gave you. So let me give you another one. There was indeed one United States president who did give aid to the Ukraine. There is indeed one United States president who started pushing back on Russia. There's one indeed United States president who is being very tough on Russia. Now, before I give you this president who did this, or who's been doing this, or who has done this, let me refresh your memory of the Ukrainian policy that was the policy of the deep state, the administrative state, the Obama administration, the Washington swamp. For 8 years, the policy of the Ukraine was, hey, Ukraine, this, folks, again, you can look this stuff up and you can verify everything that I'm saying. You cannot destroy my argument. Look it up. But President Obama went to the Ukraine and told them, hey, you guys disarm. We, the United States, will have your back. You go ahead and disarm. We've got your back. And then what happened? Russia jumped in and basically seized 1/3 of the Ukraine. I mean, they annexed Crimea. They basically took over 1/3 of the Ukraine. Where was the Obama administration? They just looked and, oh, nothing to see here. Don't worry about that. Those Russians are, they're just going to come in and hang out for a while. So the Obama administration and the deep state and this all of this Washington swamp, who had this apparently wonderful policy with the Ukraine, basically hung the Ukraine out to dry. And I already mentioned to you the one United States president who withheld aid to the Ukraine for 8 years, and that was President Obama. But the one president that we do have one president who actually gave aid. They gave Javelin missiles to the Ukraine so they could start have a way to protect themselves and push back at the Russians. That president was President Donald J. Trump. So we have a fake narrative going on right now that we're trying to impeach a current duly elected president on the basis of him withholding aid to the Ukraine for a little bit. Just, oh my goodness, he held it for a couple of days or a month or 2 months. And we're supposed to believe that he did that because he wanted the Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden. Folks, you are being lied to, and you're being lied to by a lot of people who are supposed to be serving you. They're supposed to be serving we, the people. So let's just go over this again real quick, because I really want to drive this home. I want those of you watching, I may look excited, and maybe I sound excited. It's passion, and I want to drive this point home because I'm sick and tired of hearing the partisans at CNN and MSNBC and everywhere else, even at Fox News, just all over the place, and with politicians, trying to convince what I see with my own eyes is not true. They're trying to convince that if I walk outside right now and I see blue skies, oh, no, you don't. you see gray and doom. That is what they're effectively doing. Because with my own eyes, and I wasn't born yesterday, and I'm old enough to remember a few things that have been happening in the last administrations or two. And I'm smart enough to know if you're trying to convince me that I need to remove a duly elected president 13 months before an election where we the people can decide what happens to President Trump. But the steep state, the Washington swamp, whatever you want to call them, the administrative state, and the media is trying to convince me that I should be for throwing out a duly elected president on the basis of aid being withheld from the Ukraine, when in fact the only president who released the aid and sent the Javelin missiles and sent the full-on aid to the Ukraine was President Donald J. Trump. Now again, I don't care who the Democrats are. I don't care who the Republicans are. None of that matters. Only actions and facts matter. And for 8 years, the Obama administration withheld aid. I don't even care why they did it. The fact is they did withhold aid. And the president who released the aid and is actually being a partner and helping and coming to the back or having the back of Ukraine is President Donald J. Trump. So I'll get into a little bit about this impeachment hearings, but I wanted to get that out of the way first because those are the simple facts. And if you can look at the facts without your partisan D hat or R or whatever you think you are or want to be, just look at the facts. And the reason why I'm asking Democrats to let go of their emotions, let go of their feelings, and let go of that marriage to the letter D is because if you succeed in doing this to President Trump, then you set the precedence for the Republicans to do it to your next beloved president, whether that be another Obama or fake Indian Warren or socialist Sanders, let's just say one day there's going to be another Democrat president, unfortunately so. I mean, I say that because today's Democrats are basically gone, lost their minds, and have gone socialist. And I don't want any of them to be president. But one day we're going to have another Democrat president. And everything that's being done today can be done tomorrow. Every precedent that is set today can be used against your guy tomorrow. So your guy of the future, you're setting him up right now. If you're a Democrat supporter right now, and you're supporting this baseless impeachment hearing, you were supporting the baseless Russia hoax. You supported that, and that went nowhere. Now you're supporting this baseless impeachment hearings. If you support all of these things, you are basically setting up your guy of the future to be taken down by these very methods that you're using because you are setting precedents, and precedence matters. And for those of you out there who may not be familiar with what precedence is, I'm basically saying what you lay down today as your law or your methods, let's say the methods that are being used to try and oust a duly elected president, those methods that are being used today, once you set those in motion and then you succeed, if they succeed, then those methods succeed. They can be used in the future. Our whole judicial basis, more or less, is set up on precedent. The Supreme Court always refers to case precedent. So take my word. You don't have to agree with me all the time. You don't have to like me even. Which, come on, it's kind of hard not to like me. Let's admit it. But no, I'm being serious. If you don't have to like me, you don't have to believe everything I say, But trust me when I say, whatever precedents you set today can be used against your guy tomorrow. So you really, really ought to take off your hat, your Democrat hat, take off your partisan hat, take off or divorce your letter D or even your letter R. And this is, I'm also talking to you never Trumpers. I'm talking to you too. Because everything you set in motion today, if you succeed on any of them, they can be used against your guy tomorrow. So keep that in mind. Don't. This applies with just about everything. And I'm just, I wouldn't take it lightly if you're a supporter, if you're a never Trumper, or if you're a Democrat who just cannot think objectively. Because you, for some reason, you just can't stand President Trump's tweets, or you just don't think he's a good guy, or you're so mad that he won. You're so mad that 63 million plus people voted for him and put him in office that you can't see past that anger. You're doing yourself a disservice. And you're doing whoever your guy might be in the future, you're doing them a disservice. They may not know it, but you are. Okay. All right, let me change gears a little bit and move. I want to talk a little bit about Shift Head Adam and his this whole sham that's going on.
That piece of shit?
Yeah, that piece of shit. Ladies and gentlemen, he said ship, S-H-I-P.
No, I said shift.
Well, he said shift, S-H-I-P.
That piece of shift.
That's right. Look.
He's the epitome of the old attorney joke. Do you remember that?
Which
joke?
one?
How can you tell when an attorney is lying?
Oh, his lips are moving.
His lips are moving. That's Schiff.
That's about the truth. Look, Adam Schiff has got to be one of the biggest liars in Washington. And this man is, look, folks, I don't know if any of you watched, and David, I don't know if you saw any of the hearings this morning, but Adam Schiff got, again, cold caught busted in his lies. And let me see if I can sum this up real quick. Again, this isn't going to be verbatim. I'm bringing this strictly from memory, and I wasn't even that tuned in. I just had the hearings on in the background. But basically, I think it was Jim Jordan and Representative Radcliffe who are so awesome in their factual questioning that basically Vindman, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, and believe me, he will correct you if you do not call him Lieutenant Colonel Vindman. But look, I'm not begrudging him. He earned that title. But anyway, Vindman's there, and he has given. Remember, folks, everyone that is in the hearing this week and last week, they were in the basement, in the dungeons of the House, giving private testimony and hidden testimony that Adam Schiff, Shiftless Adam, wouldn't allow anyone to hear. So every question that Adam is leading the witness with, so-called witness, he already knows what they're going to say because he's already heard. They have been deposed. He's heard their depositions. He's heard it all because they had these hidden, ridiculously hidden, and never before done in the way that Adam Schiff did them, where he closed out the Republicans. He wouldn't let them ask questions. And basically, so you know, I don't want to get into all that right now, but just understand that everything Adam and the Democrats are asking of these so-called witnesses, they already know. That's why there's a lot of leading going on. If you're a lawyer out there, or if you've watched lawyer shows and you hear the term leading the witness, that is what's happening right now with these so-called hearings. But basically, Vindman had already testified that when he heard the phone call, that he left the phone call and he went and told two people. He testified to that. Now, today in the hearing, he was asked, okay, one of those people you openly said was Ambassador Kent. I believe it was the ambassador. Kent was an ambassador. And then the second person, he will not reveal the second person. Adam Schiff will not let him reveal it, and Vindman openly will not reveal. He wouldn't reveal it in the hidden testimony. Well, we don't know if he revealed it in the hidden testimony, but since he's been going public, he hasn't and will not reveal it. So think about that as we go to this next break. that he testified that he told 2 people, but he'll only tell Congress that he, and the public, one of those people. Think about that. We're going to a break. We'll be right back. This is On Point with Victor. This is America's Web Radio.
Your auto love and investment demands the best, and for 45 years, Passport Transport has been meeting those demands. From manufacturers to the one-car collectors and all other facets of the auto industry and antique auto hobby. The first and the finest with unequaled service and peace of mind. Passport Transport, your auto transportation company. Contact PassportTransport.com with your need today. Passport Transport.
Good morning. My name is Mike Mizell. I'm a retired Army colonel and president of the Johns Creek Veterans Association. We meet in Newtown Park, and part of one of our projects is the installation of the Healing Wall, the half-scale model of the Vietnam Wall that traveled the United States. Well, it's coming to rest, and it's going to live in Johns Creek forever, the half-scale model. We're looking at possibly a March implementation ribbon cutting ceremony, and we're looking for donors and sponsors that want to help us in this great project. You can donate at jcvets.org.
Hi, this is Ron Camacho, host of the Business Hour on America's Web Radio. If you'd like to hear an eclectic mix of great programs, from relationships with Dr. Ann Schubert to homegrown veggies, and from classic cars to the Constitution, we've got programs for discerning listeners at www.americaswebradio.com.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. I am Victor Armendariz. This is On Point with Victor. And you're getting common sense and logic. That's the analysis you're going to get here, folks. And, I can't put it any simpler. And I'm really, really trying to break this down so that everybody can understand. And no one can accuse me of elitist talk to try and get things over people's heads. I don't ever want to be accused of that. So all right. So basically, you've got Vindman, who already testified that he told 2 people. The shiftless shift-head Adam will only allow him to say one person, which we know was Kent. So Jordan, in his brilliance, and Radcliffe also, in their questioning with Vindman, basically says, you have testified under oath that you told 2 people, and one of those people is Kent. Who was the other guy? And Vindman is looking at them, trying to figure out what he's going to say. Well, shift-head Adam interrupts and tries to shut down the line of questioning. And what does Adam say? Adam says, I will not allow this to go on because we will not unveil the whistleblower. We are not going to out the whistleblower. Well, let me tell you something, folks. If you're not caught on to my logic here, let me explain it to you in the way that Jordan and Radcliffe did. Because Jordan and Radcliffe are pretty darn quick, and they're pretty darn sharp, and we're lucky to have them in the House. We're lucky to have them in Congress. Because they quickly turned to shift, especially Jim Jordan, quickly turned to shift and said, now wait a minute. If you, Adam Schiff, Representative Schiff, you shift head Adam, you have said repeatedly that you do not know who the whistleblower is. You've stated in the public, you've stated behind the scenes, you've stated everywhere, including in this hearing, that you do not know who the whistleblower is. And then he turned to Vindman. He goes, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, you have testified under oath and said publicly that you do not know who the whistleblower is. Therefore, how would it be possible to out the whistleblower if neither one of them knew who the whistleblower is? Are you following me here, folks? Vindman sat there and testified that he told 2 people. And one of them he can reveal and one of them he can't reveal. And then when he gets pushed by the Republicans to reveal the second person, Adam Schiff jumps in and says, we will not out the whistleblower. How can you not out the whistleblower, or how can you, now I'm confusing myself, how can you out the whistleblower if you don't know who the whistleblower is? And Vindman testified under oath that he didn't know who the whistleblower is. Folks, I am sitting here right now telling you that this whole thing is crumbling right before our very eyes, if you can look at it objectively. It's the whole impeachment thing came crumbling down. It's already been crumbling, but you do not have to be a brain surgeon or a rocket scientist to start putting two and two together. Here's what I think happened. Vindman was on the call, heard a few things, and said, hey, you know what? I could take this out of context. Never did he think that Trump would release the transcript. So I'm going to go run and I'm going to tell somebody in the intelligence apparatus that, you know what, there may be quid pro quo here. I'm not comfortable with what Trump's saying. I think he said that, and I think he told that to Kent, which maybe Kent was in the need to know, maybe that he was need to know, that's fine. But I also think he told that other person that they won't reveal, who maybe was the whistleblower, or maybe is the whistleblower, or is the connection to the whistleblower. But basically, none of that phone call information was supposed to go out of the need-to-know chain of command. Now, look, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman knows very well the chain of command. And when you are in the intelligence and you're dealing with the executive branch, or anything else in that's high-level intelligence, there is a need-to-know chain of command. If you are not in that need-to-know bubble, you don't get to know what was in the know. So basically, that phone call, or this allegation that it wasn't right, or something was wrong with the phone call, was leaked. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that I think the leaker was sitting right there in front of everyone today at the hearing in the form of Vindman. I think Vindman basically was the leak, and Adam Schiff knows who the whistleblower is. We actually know that, so we know Adam Schiff has been lying. We know he knows who the whistleblower is. It has been factually confirmed that he knows who the whistleblower is, but yet he's going to sit there and lie and tell you that he doesn't. And I'm here to tell you that Vindman knows who the whistleblower is. But, I mean, that's just part of this clown show that was going on today, folks. And this is why it's so frustrating. Because I don't care where you stand politically. You do not, in this country, we should not ever, ever allow or be part of lies to oust a president. Just because your side didn't win, when did it become okay to try and impeach a president because you disagree with his policy? Policy disagreement is not a reason for impeachment. Because you don't like Donald Trump's attitude, or you don't like his style, or you don't like his tweets, that is not an impeachable offense. Not liking Donald Trump's style or policy, that is not a crime. These are not impeachable offenses, folks. So again, this is why I talk about precedents. And you should start asking yourself, if you are a dead-in-the-wool Democrat and you think you're so right and you think socialism is the way to go and you really want to change this country because you think people agree with you and you think that this country needs to be socialist and we need to get behind the Democrats, well, you know what? You've got an election in 13 months. Get off your butt, get on the ground, go convince people to your side, and go vote. That's how you change the direction of this country. We've been doing it for 240 plus years. There's no country on this earth that can reverse course or change course, or however you want to put it, like the United States of America. Because we can do it every 4 years without one bullet being fired, one life being lost. Because we can go to the ballot box and pull the lever for who you think should be leading this country. And in 2016, in this beautiful, wonderful, unbelievable country, 63 million plus people gave Donald Trump an electoral landslide and put him into the office of the presidency. They deemed him chief executive. They took a businessman and said, you've been CEO of your different companies. Now we want you to be CEO of the United States of America. It's as simple as that, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot make this any more simpler. What is going on right now? I mean, folks, oh my gosh, if you doubt me, please do some research. Why don't you do a Nexus Lexus search or a Google search or a DuckDuckGo search and find out when the first time the word impeachment in reference to President Trump was used? Do a search and find out when it was used. Ladies and gentlemen, the impeachment word connected to Donald Trump was being used before he was even elected. These people have tipped their hand. You just got to see it. You got to take off your partisan hat. You have the one of the main lawyers the Democrats are using in this impeachment probe tweeted out in 2016, or it may have been in 2015, the end of 2015, I think it was 2016, he tweeted out, "The coup has begun." Those are his words. The Democrat lawyer who's knee-deep into all this impeachment fiasco going on actually tweeted out, "The coup has begun." I can't put it any clearer. They can't put it any more clear than that. This is how brazen the Democrats have become and their followers and the deep state has become. They are so convinced in their holiness that they're really starting to remove the veil. But for a Democrat lawyer to have tweeted out the coup has begun, for an FBI agent to tweet out we have a backup plan. Folks, these are people in the United States government who think they know better than you. And these are people who are actually well entrenched in Washington who are not happy. Let me go down this list with you, folks. They're not happy that their beloved Hillary lost 2016. They really can't stand that Bush lost the primaries in 2015. They're not happy that Donald J. Trump was elected president. They're not happy that President Donald J. Trump is a doer. He is not a politician. He is a business doer. They hate that. And when I say they, I'm talking about the administrative state, the deep state, the Washington swamp, the Democrats that hold office right now, the media. I'm referring to all of them. They cannot stand the fact that President Trump actually knows how to be an executive leader. Folks, the President of the United States is the head of the executive branch in our government. For those of you out there who may have gone to a government school, and look, folks, I went to a government school, but today's government schools are quite a little bit different. And so for those of you out there are 3 branches in the United States government, with the executive branch being one of them. And President Trump is head, the leader, the CEO, the boss man of the executive branch. And part of the duty,
also able to dish out clemency.
Absolutely. And per the Constitution. And also per the Constitution, the executive branch sets foreign policy. The president sets foreign policy. And what you have right now are a bunch of people that are mad because he actually has the audacity to do his duty as president of the United States. All right, folks, we got to take another break. I know it's going by fast. Hang with me. We'll get to a little bit more. Just hang tight. You're listening to America's Web Radio, On Point with Victor.
This is Dr. Susan Blank, host of Detailing Addiction on America's Web Radio. Please join us at 4 p.m. on Tuesday afternoons.
You can keep your doctor, you can keep your plan, and every family will save thousands of dollars a year. I'm Ellen Deal, and if you've been hurt by the Affordable Care Act, you can email MAGA45CAG@gmail.com to see if we can help. Small business owners, individuals, families, and baby boomers, email MAGA45CAG@gmail.com for 3 easy questions to determine if you can get away from Obamacare. I'm a 20-year veteran of the insurance industry and here to help you for all your insurance needs.
The Docs for Patient Care Foundation is your way to join the fight and become a member of an organization created by doctors for patients, dedicated to fighting for your healthcare freedom and preserving the doctor-patient relationship. Get a pen and paper. Write down docs4patientcarefoundation.org. That's DOCS, the number 4, patientcarefoundation.org. Go to our site and please make a generous tax-deductible donation and join the fight today. Thank you.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And welcome back, folks. Welcome back to the show. All right. So I got to deviate in a second because I got a question that I really want to get to and I want to answer. But basically, to sum it up, you've got a lot of bureaucrats. They are bureaucrats that have been entrenched. Remember a couple of weeks ago, I did a show and I talked about how we have not just career politicians, but career staff members, career bureaucrats. They're all over Washington. They're holdovers. You've got Bush 1 holdovers, Bush 2 holdovers, Clinton holdovers, a lot of Obama holdovers. This is the danger of a big government. This is why the founders of this country did not want a big centralized government. This is why the founding fathers were very much against a huge, big, centralized federal government. Folks, this is why the United States Constitution very clearly dictates 18 enumerated powers of the federal government. Everything else is supposed to go to the states. And the biggest reason is because of all these holdovers that I talk about, these entrenched bureaucrats that you're hearing now. They're being paraded one by one right now, ladies and gentlemen, these so-called witnesses. What are they a witness to, folks? Ask yourself that. What are they a witness to? Most of these people, in fact, all of them but 2 or 3 of them that are being paraded in front of the House in these so-called impeachment hearings, none of them have firsthand information of the phone call. None of them do. All of it is hearsay. So-and-so's uncle's brother's sister's mother's daughter's aunt said this, so I feel this and I felt this, so I must give you my opinion. That's what's happening. And so you've got these bureaucrats that not only are spouting hearsay in their opinion. So again, what are they a witness to? All they're doing is giving us their opinion. And when it gets down to it, these bureaucrats have had their feelings hurt because Donald J. Trump is actually performing as an executive should perform. He is setting the course because he is duly afforded that purpose by the Constitution. He is not going to the deep state bureaucrats. He's not going to the holdovers. He's not going to the Obamalites. He's not going to all the Obama holdovers that still think they run and set foreign policy. He's not doing that. So now their feelings are hurt. They're pissed off because suddenly they've been reduced to nothing because they can't set policy anymore. They are pissed off because all the work they did under Obama is being obliterated by Donald J. Trump. And it pisses them off. So now they're parading themselves one by one in front of the House in so-called impeachment hearings to give their opinions on why their feelings are hurt. Because if you listen closely to what they're saying, all of their opinions they're giving, It all comes down to, well, this is the way we used to do things. This is the way policy was. This has been up to this date our policy for the Ukraine, or our Russian policy, or our Mexican policy, or our Canadian policy. That's what they're saying. But folks, when a president gets elected by the people to run the executive branch, he gets to set foreign policy. He does not have to go into the swamp and become part of the swamp. That is why Donald Trump is hated so much by these people. And that is why, and ask yourself, why can't we just wait 13 months and have the election? If this many people agree with the Democrats, then Donald Trump will not be reelected. Ask yourself why the Democrats and the bureaucrats and the deep state and the administrative state can't wait and just have and go vote. Why? Because they're terrified that Donald Trump is on his way to an overwhelming landslide of a re-election. That's what they're afraid of, folks. They're so afraid to let we, the people, make the decision. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States of let me back up. The United States Constitution gives we, the people, the right to set course of this country's direction. We, the people, send representatives to Congress, including the president, to serve us. But right now, if you listen to the Democrats and you listen to the bureaucrats and you listen to these career politicians, they don't want to trust you. They don't want to trust me. They don't want to trust the voting box. They think they should be able to remove the president because they disagree with him, and they disagree with what we, the people, what you did in 2016. And by golly, you got it wrong in 2016, and they can't take a chance on you and we getting it wrong again in 2020. That's how they view this. I'm telling you, folks, this is how they view it. Okay, let me get to a question real quick. So we have a question that was sent right now live to me that's asking how come some of his Democrat friends are asking him, and unfortunately, this guy has a lot of Democrat friends. Look, folks, so do I. I have some Democrat friends too, and I have fun with them. But this guy is being inundated with questions from his Democrat friends that claim that Republicans are not allowing their witnesses or their, and again, folks, ask yourself, what are these people witnesses to? You've got to ask that question. So anyway, so they're asking this caller here, or not a caller, this listener, they're asking him, why are the Republicans not allowing witnesses to testify under oath? Folks, this is simple. Let me think of a good way to put this, but let me try. I'll try and make this simple. There is a such thing called executive privilege under the executive branch. And when you have spent 3 years being harassed, you've got people coming with false claim after false claim after false claim. Folks, when was the last time you heard about the Russia collusion case? When was the last time you heard about the Mueller case? Funny how quick they dropped that. Why? Because we wasted 2 years and $35+ billion chasing a Russian hoax that in the end, the Mueller investigation exonerated President Trump. That is why you haven't heard anything about it anymore. That is why suddenly, oh my gosh, don't forget about here. Don't look over here. This Mueller investigation, forget about that. We got to go about this phone call. We've got to go to the Ukrainian quid pro quo. So now they're on to something else. So if you are a Republican in the executive branch and you're President Trump, and you've spent the last 3 years being inundated by people in your own party, people in the opposition party, people in the deep state who are trying and formulating every day a way to get rid of you. They're trying to drive down your approval numbers. You've got a media that is 98% against you. You've got a media that is every day trying to convince the American people that you as the executive branch leader did something wrong, so that they will bring down your polling or your approval ratings, because Washington lives and dies by these ridiculous polls. And the Democrats figure that if they can drive down the polls of Donald Trump, or the approval ratings of Donald Trump, if they can do that enough, then they can convince the Senate people like Romney, that Donald don't even get started, to vote against and vote for impeaching Trump and removing him. That's what they're doing. So, to get back to the question here on why aren't Republicans, why are some in the executive branch not going to testify? The simple reason is because executive privilege. The simple reason is, why would you subject yourself to a sham? Why would you legitimize this impeachment farce by going going to participate in this? All you're doing is opening yourself up to a perjury trap. And that's what these people in Congress are trying to do. They're trying to get them to come up. So why would you, if you were Donald Trump, if you were in the executive branch, why would you want to put yourself into that abuse, open yourself to abuse this way, and lend legitimacy to something that you know is not legitimate? So that is the main reason why you're not having Republicans go and be so-called witnesses.
Where is the public besides myself? And I've been tweeting this out, I've been Facebooking this out, I've been doing live commercials, or how much is this costing us? The Mueller fiasco was $35 million.
Plus,
if these son of a bitches would go get to work, the Democrats do something instead of all of this Mickey Mouse baloney and that piece of Schiff, he doesn't know what work is other than to lie. But when is the public going to realize that this is costing us lots of money?
Well, it's funny you should say that, Dave, because when you look at the Mueller investigation, all of that was $35 billion plus, and then you look now at this, the cards are falling. The impeachment hearing, this is all collapsing. So you've got to ask yourself, like you are, David, how much is this costing? Because this is taxpayers' dollars that they are wasting day after day after day, going after these fake accusations and this fake impeachment hearings. All of this stuff that they're creating and trying to, and it is a coup, they're trying to enact this coup. They're spending taxpayer dollars. So, David, you are absolutely correct to point out the millions and billions of dollars that are being wasted, that have already been wasted and continue to be wasted. But that's not all, though, David. It's not just that tax dollars. There's no legislative being done.
No, that's
no
what I'm
legislative
saying.
business. The
Why
business.
don't they get to work?
Yep, the business of the American people is being pushed aside because these Democrats are not doing any legislation. And while I'm on that, I want to call out. Look, I know some of you get a little cringy, I think, when I bring up Lindsey Graham and McConnell, because I'm getting tired of Lindsey Graham going on every conservative show that he can and grandstanding on how I'm not going to allow this to happen and I'm going to call so-and-so and I'm going to do this. I'm gonna is all I've heard out of Lindsey Graham and McConnell. Where is the action, Lindsey? Look, I like Lindsey Graham, and I'm so glad that he has, at least in the last couple of years, seems to have been doing his job. And coming or having the back of President Trump and looking at the facts that are coming out. But I'm getting tired of him saying he's going to do all these things and not doing them. Lindsey Graham controls the Senate Judiciary Committee, I believe it's that committee, and he can do exactly what Adam Schiff is doing. Lindsey Graham can start subpoenaing and having investigations, and he needs to start doing it. Folks, I'm running out of time here. And again, I'm not trying to oust Lindsey Graham yet. I'm just saying we need to hold these people and make them perform actions. Words aren't enough. And Lindsey Graham is saying a lot, but he's doing little. All right, folks, there's a whole lot that I wanted to get into, and I can't get into it now. So,
when is the last time that our Congress, our House of Representatives, worked?
Oh, 3 years ago, maybe.
I mean, I literally did something.
With the exception of the executive branch, Donald Trump is doing. I mean, you got to look at what he's doing. I mean, that guy is doing what he can, and because he's a doer. All right, folks, tune in next week. I'm going to pick up where I left off next week, so make sure you tune in. But stay tuned now, because coming up is Locked and Loaded with Roger B. So stay tuned, folks. America's Web Radio.
Get your pen and paper ready. If there's a move in your near future, I'm here to tell you that the folks I used and